Nowadays, many believe that cell phones and computers are the main tools for catching cheaters, but this isn't entirely accurate for two main reasons. Firstly, seasoned cheaters know how to avoid leaving electronic traces on such devices. Secondly, the average spouse doesn't suspect their partner of infidelity, leaving them no reason to search for evidence that isn't there. I know this all too well because I was once one of those naive husbands who firmly believed my beautiful wife, Lisa, could never cheat on me. Unfortunately, the harsh truth is that I was utterly mistaken, living in some kind of blind ignorance, completely oblivious to the cracks in our marriage. My name is Bo Eklund. I'm 39 years old, from Scandinavia, and I work in planning and administration for a leading construction company in our region. My wife, Lisa, is 37 and works in the accounting department of an engineering plant. We've been married for 13 years and have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. Until that dreadful Friday, I thought we had a solid marriage. But a simple coincidence that day unraveled everything and turned my life upside down. It all started the previous Saturday when I had to work overtime to address some pressing issues. To compensate, I decided to take the entire following Friday off. Lisa, of course, gave me a long list of chores to keep me occupied, but after the kids left for school, I decided to ignore her list and instead clean the house. We were hosting 2 families for dinner that evening, and I wanted everything to look perfect. While vacuuming the living room, I decided to clean the mirrors in my cocktail cabinet to impress our guests. The cabinet typically held 8 bottles of Scotch malt whiskey and 6 crystal glasses. To my surprise, one of the glasses had been used, even though just 2 days earlier, when I replaced a burned-out light bulb in the cabinet, everything had been untouched. This discovery puzzled me. I never left dirty glasses in the cabinet. Clearly, someone had been in our house and drank my whiskey. But how? Lisa and I had left home at the same time that morning, and I'd returned before her. This meant someone had been in our house in the afternoon while we were both at work. It seemed absurd to think someone would break into a house just to drink a glass of whiskey. There had to be another explanation. I checked the doors, windows, and locks for any signs of forced entry but found nothing. All valuables were accounted for, and nothing seemed out of place. That's when another possibility crossed my mind, that Lisa had come home briefly and was delayed with someone. But why hadn't she mentioned it to me? Unless, of course, I wasn't supposed to know. That thought hit me like a thunderbolt. I rushed to the bedroom to look for clues but found nothing suspicious. Next, I checked the spare room. There, I noticed the pillow and sheets on the bed had been disturbed, even though no one had stayed there for months, not since Lisa's sister had visited. Upon closer inspection, I found a few long, dark brown hairs on the pillow and a small dried stain in the middle of the sheet. I replaced the pillowcase and sheet, cutting out the stained portion to keep as evidence, and threw the rest into a garbage bag. Then, using a magnifying glass, I compared the hair from the spare room to hair from Lisa's brush. There was no doubt, it was hers. Lisa's sister is blonde, so it couldn't have been her hair. It was undeniable that someone had slept in this bed, and Lisa's hair on the pillow suggested her involvement. She must have been in too much of a rush after her gym session the previous night to tidy up, assuming I'd never noticed since I rarely went into the spare room. If it weren't for that dirty whiskey glass, I'd still be a blissfully ignorant husband. Realizing I couldn't go through the motions of hosting a dinner party that evening, I canceled the plans with our friends. Afterward, I left Lisa a note on the kitchen table. Lisa, due to a very serious issue, I've canceled dinner with our friends and will be away for a while. Bo. I didn't elaborate on the issue or where I was going, but I knew Lisa would eventually piece it together, especially when she saw the replaced sheets in the spare room. I packed my clothes and laptop, booked a room at a popular Baltic Coast hotel, and left. At the hotel, I spent time at the gym and pool before heading to the bar for dinner. Later, I turned on my phone to check Lisa's messages. She had left 4 voice messages and 2 texts asking me to contact her immediately, but there was no hint of apology or acknowledgement of what had happened. I saw no reason to reply. On Saturday, I stayed at the hotel, dividing my time between the gym and spa. That evening, a rather attractive woman approached me with a clear, business proposal, but I wasn't interested. By Sunday evening, I returned home. As soon as I walked in, Lisa shouted, "Where the hell have you been?" Without raising my voice, I replied, "Who is he?" "Who's what?" she shot back angrily. "The guy who drank my whiskey and slept with you in the spare room on Thursday." Her face paled as I laid out the evidence, the dirty whiskey glass, the sheets, her hair on the pillow, and the stain. I added that if she didn't come clean, I'd ask all possible suspects to take a DNA test to avoid humiliating the wrong person. Lisa initially tried to deny everything, but as I calmly explained how determined I was to uncover the truth, her expression shifted from anger to dread. Lisa was fully aware that it would be a trivial matter for them to do me this small favor. She explained that her affair with Jerry Harrison was just an innocent, one-time mistake that she swore would never happen again. "Please forgive me," she pleaded, "let me explain, there's no need to overreact. Really, there's no reason for you to make a big deal out of this. The only thing I could think about doing at that moment was strangling that bastard." She screamed at me to stop, urging me to come back, but I stormed out, jumped into my car, and drove off in a fit of rage. It took me about 10 minutes to reach Jerry's house. However, Lisa had already warned him, tipping him off about my intentions. When I arrived, I was greeted not by Jerry but by his stunningly beautiful wife, Veronica. She informed me that Jerry had received a call and left the house in a hurry. After hearing the reason behind my visit, she said, "Thanks for this information. If you can provide proof, Jerry will be out of this house tomorrow, no problem. After all, this house is my private property." I assured her I had evidence, including Lisa's confession and a DNA sample from a spot on our bed sheets. "All I need is something with Jerry's DNA on it to confirm the analysis," I added, convinced that Lisa's warning had prompted Jerry's sudden disappearance. Veronica handed me one of Jerry's used handkerchiefs from the laundry basket, assuring me it belonged to him. She even promised to keep me updated on the situation with Jerry. The following Monday, I headed to the courthouse to start the divorce process. I completed all the necessary paperwork, signed them, and presented them to Lisa for her signature. But she outright refused, breaking down into hysterical tears. That evening, Veronica called me with an update. Jerry had confessed to cheating on her and had been kicked out of the house. To ensure Jerry couldn't pull any tricks to regain entry, Veronica's well-built coworker moved in with her for added security. When I informed Lisa that Jerry was now a free man and she was welcome to join him, her reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of jumping at the opportunity, she burst into tears again, begging me to forgive her for what she described as a deeply regrettable one-time mistake. I considered her plea, but before granting forgiveness, I needed to clarify some lingering doubts. I went for a long walk to gather my thoughts, and during this time, Veronica called me again, asking for a favor that seemed odd but obviously held great importance to her. 2 days later, an unexpected call brought clarity. Attached was an audio file containing Jerry Harrison's shocking confession. In it, he admitted to sleeping with Lisa Eklund 5 or 6 times in different locations, with the most recent encounter occurring at my home the previous Thursday. He also detailed their first liaison at a Christmas work party, a second time during a seminar, and a particularly scandalous threesome with Joel Nayland one night. Veronica, determined to move forward, had told Jerry he could stay at his job but only if he relocated 35 kilometers away to another town. My friends informed me that Jerry's cooperation was swiftly secured with a mere few seconds of a stun gun. First, I relayed the news of Jerry's infidelity to Veronica, and then I confronted Lisa with the confession. This left her no choice but to sign the divorce papers without further argument or explanation. Despite knowing divorce would be a grueling process that could hurt our innocent children, I saw no other option. No matter how much I loved Lisa, the weight of her betrayal was too much to bear. Epilogue. 6 months later, my life was still a mess, and I felt like I was barely keeping afloat. I bought back the house from Lisa, which required me to take out another bank loan. Managing all the expenses with a single paycheck wreaked havoc on my finances. Though almost everyone involved in Lisa's infidelity faced their own share of losses, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the biggest loser. Jerry, as instructed, purchased a modest house in a neighboring town and now lives with a divorced woman he met online. He continues to blame Lisa for his downfall. Although they still work at the same place, their relationship has ended, and they hardly speak anymore. Joel Naylen, while still married, hasn't fared much better. After I exposed his threesome with Lisa and Jerry to his wife, she gave him an ultimatum: back off or live by my terms. He reluctantly agreed, but now he's the subject of ridicule. His wife spends at least one night a week with her boss, sometimes even in their marital bed. Meanwhile, Joel sleeps in the spare room or checks into a cheap hotel. Interestingly, Joel's wife seems to be thriving. She even got a promotion and a company car, making her a clear winner in this twisted saga. Jerry's ex-wife, Veronica, also emerged victorious. Her handsome co-worker never left her side, and they're now engaged. She even invited me to their wedding, teasing that she found me an excellent date. As for Lisa, she moved in with Tony Home, a man infamous for his temper and history of abuse. Despite warnings from her friends and me, she didn't heed our advice. Trouble arose when Lisa received her share of the house's proceeds but refused to help Tony purchase his dream BMW. In a fit of rage, Tony made the catastrophic mistake of assaulting Lisa in front of our children. While I had left Lisa because of her betrayal, she remains the mother of my children, and anyone foolish enough to hurt her must face the consequences. Tony ended up in the hospital with a broken collarbone, leg, and knee injuries that confined him to a wheelchair for weeks. Lisa, in the meantime, moved out of Tony's apartment and bought her own place in a far better neighborhood. Although we're not friends, we've managed to maintain a civil relationship for the sake of our kids. Lisa claims she deeply regrets her actions, and I believe her. What astonished me most was how quickly Veronica and Joel's wife moved on, both finding new partners. A close friend even speculated that Jerry and Joel's escapades with Lisa were acts of revenge, as they suspected their own wives were unfaithful. Perhaps he's right, who knows? I can't help but feel like the only true innocent victim in this sordid tale. How is that even fair?